Who's got the wireless?
Oh, sorry, sorry.
Alrighty guys, hopefully you can hear me, hope you guys are all comfortable where you are. It's great to be back here. Hey, I want to just, why don't we just give another shout out to the World Vision crew. It's wonderful having you. A big applause. You know, it is awesome what you guys are doing. So if you're not aware, everything, so you guys all pay $5 to get in here. We've said, you all know we're non-for-profit, so anything that we do make with money, we give away or invest straight back into you guys. But this time around, rather than looking after ourselves, everything you guys brought in is going straight to World Vision. So there's 138 of you. My math is not good enough. Multiply it by 5. It's over $600. So that's really, really cool just because you guys rocked out. That's going to change some lives. What was even cooler though was hearing some of your stories. There's a girl who was walking around the streets and she said that she picked up $90 from her neighbours. There was another girl that came here and said, I've got $100 to give away, which is really cool. And then a bloke up and said, I got $40, who do I give this to? And so she gave it to that person who was giving it to World Vision. And then another person came up and said, I've got $20, and gave it to that person. So that person started with $100 and has finished with $160. So now we're up to like $800, and that's before we count the rest of the Carey people and what they've raised. So that's a great effort, guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now I do realise we don't often get the chance to worship and have music like this, so I trust that you had a good time dancing. It was short, there'll be more later. I trust that you guys enjoyed listening to the music, that you had a chance to sing to God, and that some of you may have started to experience some of the excitement that us senior leaders and those of us that believe in God live with day to day. But tonight, before we jump into things, I've got a couple of questions to ask you guys. And when I ask you these questions, I want you to answer them in your head, right? So I've got a few questions for you. You answer in your head, then I'm going to show you something from The Lion King, if technology works. So, alrighty. These are your questions. Answer them in your head. Who was the last person you helped? If you answer in your head. It's like a pop quiz in Mr. Harris's S&E class. Who was the last person you helped? Number 2, where were you when you helped them? Number 3, what did you do to help them? And number 4, why did you help them? I'll go through once more. Who was the last person you helped? Where were you when you helped them? What did you do to help them? And why did you choose to help them? You should have all those answers, who you helped, where you were, what you're doing, and why you helped them. They should be in your head. I want you to hold those answers in your head. It's your own personal story. It's your own story of how you helped someone. And I want you to turn to the screens, and we're going to see something from The Lion King. Let's see how it goes. Awesome. We're going to stop there. Ah, you guys are all sad. Hey, you can watch The Lion King more later if you want tonight. If you don't want to sleep, that will definitely be on. Hey, I love Pumbaa. He's one of my favourite Walt Disney characters, but that's not the reason I showed you guys that clip. From this clip, I have another question. So many questions tonight, but I have another question for you guys. I want you to answer this in your heads again. Lots of answers in your heads. What really happened in that video clip? What really happened in that video clip? You see, when we see people who are hurt or who they're struggling, it is natural to want to help them, especially if you see someone who's struggling and they're your friend. We generally help people for one of 2 reasons. Broad generalization here. 1, we're emotionally moved by whatever their circumstance is, so to deal with our emotions, we try to help out. We're emotionally moved by whatever they're experiencing, so we try to help out to deal with our emotions. Or 2, we want to get something out of helping people. We want to get something out of helping people. So Timon and Pumbaa, right? If I asked you the why did they help, the answer is really simple. They could get something out of having a lion around. They could get something out of having a lion around. It wasn't anything to do with their own care for him. They didn't care because they were good animals. It wasn't anything to do with that. They didn't help Simba because they knew he was an orphan. broke some news there if you haven't seen the film. They didn't look after Simba because he was an orphan or because they knew that people were trying to kill him. They simply helped Simba, the lion, because they thought it would be helpful to themselves to have a lion around them. Now what's really scary and both exciting and sad is that Australians are kind of like that too. For example, if you look at giving to charitable donations, at the end of the financial year, it always goes up. So at the end of the tax year, our giving goes up. And that's simply because you can get a tax-deductible rebate on any donation over $2. So we give because it's a good thing to give, and we get a little bit something back for ourselves if we do it and claim it back. Australians also give rarely generously. I've got to stress that. We're rarely generous when we're moved by a situation. For example, Bali, 2004. An earthquake strikes, a bunch of tsunamis go out. We give over $1 billion away through military and government aid and also out of our own pockets to help people rebuild their lives. We send our troops across it. This is a good thing. 2 years ago in Melbourne, millions of dollars are raised and given to people who are affected by the bushfires. Or last year, or this year, Queensland, lots of stuff, floods, again, millions of dollars given because Australians have been moved by other people's circumstances. Why are people giving? Because emotions within them were stirred by the horrific events that they had seen. Now, if we're really honest, there is absolutely nothing wrong with giving because you're emotionally moved by the events you've seen. There's nothing wrong with giving because you might get a little something back. Nothing wrong with that. However, and this is what you've got to pick up tonight as I get into God's Word. As Christians, I believe we're called to do and be so much more. I believe that we're called to be difference makers day by day. Difference makers, not in their cars or aeroplanes, not very cool. So he's going from Judah to Galilee, and he has to pass through a place called Samaria. Now you have to know, Jesus was a Jewish man, and the Jewish people, they weren't friends with Samaritans. They weren't like buddy, chummy, or anything like that. They were natural enemies at time. The second thing you have to know before I continue the story is that the place of women in ancient society, very different to your place in our society today. So it kind of goes like this. Animals, slaves, ladies, men. Alright? Animals, slaves, ladies, men. So Jesus, he's a man, he's a Jewish man, he's enemies with Samaritans, and he walks through Samaria, and he comes to a well, which is a place where you get water. And he meets a Samaritan woman. She's there to get water for herself. She's there because she's thirsty and wants a drink. And so Jesus turns to her, and he starts speaking to her, and the lady's like, hey dude, you're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan woman. You can't ask me for a drink, man. You can't even talk to me. You're supposed to hate me. And so this conversation between Jesus and this lady begins and goes on. And as they keep on talking, it becomes really apparent that Jesus knew exactly who she was and knew exactly where she'd been journeying, because, you know, that's sort of like God-like ability to find out what was going on. And he knew that her life wasn't going well. He knew that in her life, she'd been making lots of mistakes and allowing men to do lots of different things to her. And so he took this opportunity to encourage her to live a new life of worship to God. Now, I've made that story really short and really simple. It's far more complex than that in reality. But tonight, we're keeping it simple, okay? So the question, what's really happening, and how should I respond in the light of this? So what's happening? Jesus rocks up to a well, a lady rocks up, the lady's got no position. He starts speaking to a social outcast, to a lady who's marginalized by the life that she has lived, by the mistakes she has made, by the abuse of other people judging her. And instead of condemning her as a Jewish man and saying, you're a bad lady, Jesus starts up a conversation and offers her a second chance.